Good evening, New Bedford Guide. Chris Resendes back for the Chris Resendes Show, episode, I don't know, 20-something. A lot of good guests lately. I've really enjoyed working with the New Bedford Guide lately. I've been able to help out some people in the community, which is the main goal of our show, to inform, educate, and help. We're still looking for a donor for Lisa. She's looking for a kidney, guys. I'll post a link at the end of this video. Reached out to her last week. We've got some good feedback from that show, but we are looking for a match for her. If you find it in your heart, or you know anybody that's interested in saving somebody's life and being a true hero, that's an option. She's a type A blood type. She's in desperate need of a kidney, and it'd be amazing if you were that person. If I could do it, I would. I know it's a tough decision to make, and it's something that you could actually really help somebody's life. Consider it, try it, maybe talk to a family member. Even if you're not that blood type, she can work out a trade with somebody who is that blood type, and you could probably help. That being said, tonight I have a couple cool guests. Really cool guest, Joshua Amaral, always online, always helping out, and Peter Costa from New Bedford Homeless Advocates Incorporated. Both guys, hard workers with our community, both have work on different ends of the community, different spectrums, but both hold very important positions, and both are doing a lot of selfless work, and both aren't getting paid for their work, really, especially Josh. Josh is on a free salary here, and lately he was in part of an important decision in our community, and we'll discuss that. Very important decision. Hot topic discussion will be the new Superintendent Thomas Anderson. But without further ado, our first guest tonight, and we'll let Josh chime in as well, is Peter Costa from New Bedford Homeless Advocates. Good evening, Pete. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you.
Pete, you reached out to us, and we sat down the other day and we talked about your corporation that you do, the president, the founder of New Bedford Homeless Associates. Let everybody know on Facebook, like, what is it exactly that you do? Just a short answer. We'll get into the more details throughout the interview, but what is your daily, what's New Bedford Homeless Advocates?
Well, we do a lot of things for the homeless, but basically the day-to-day is what I do every day, and I still maintain it to this day, is I walk the streets of New Bedford, and I meet and engage with the homeless. I carry a bag with socks, brand new underwear, and t-shirts, street sheets, and I find out exactly what their needs are. First, when I engage the homeless, I do almost like a little triage, see if they need any kind of services immediately, like medical help. Maybe they need to get into a detox, or maybe they go to the ER first. Any mental health issues, anything that they need immediately, So, and then I go on to see what their needs are, like socks, underwear, t-shirts, or any type of clothing that they might need. I take a list of anything that I don't have. I take a list, and I go back to our warehouse, which is in the south end. We have a big warehouse there. It's a warehouse. We have a clothing pantry where the homeless can come in and get the stuff that they need. And also, when I take the list, I make sure I go back the next day or try to find them. I make it,
Make a note, check on them.
Double check on them.
Now,
give them what they need.
You were a career electrician. You said you worked out in Boston Union electrician?
Yes, long enough to.
You're retired now. How long have you been doing this for?
2010.
How did it happen?
Well, I started, I moved to Walnut Street. It was right beside the Salvation Army and Pilgrim United Church, and I walked by one day, and there was a lot of there was breakfast and mercy meals. It just started, and I walked in, and I just wanted to help, and there was Reverend Russ Chamberlain there, and I just started my career into doing what I'm doing. And the Lord just touched my heart. I was searching for something to serve the Lord in, and this is what I needed.
Oh, it's a wonderful ministry. I mean, you're helping people that sometimes, well, most of the time, our homeless population is definitely suffers mental illness. And then it's a big reason why these people are out in the streets.
Right, 75%. And then I moved from Mercy Meals. I was doing the clothing ministry at Mercy Meals after that, and then I went to Mobilos and Fishes. We started with them, and then going to the different sites. It's a canteen truck that goes around. It's called Mobile Ministries now, that goes to different sites around New Bedford to serve the homeless and the needy, food and clothing. But I noticed that it's only a canteen truck, and there's only so many clothes you can fit on the side of a canteen truck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of stuff, like, you have different sizes, of course, and a lot of it, there was no really jeans or T-shirts, stuff that they really, really needed, because people just don't donate a lot of that stuff. They keep, especially men, keep their jeans till they're worn out.
I absolutely like my jeans when they're worn out. Actually, I don't think I wash mine for about 7 uses before I even think about throwing them in the washing machine. Now,
and then what I did was through Mobile Ministries and the food truck, I started gathering. There's people just weren't getting the stuff that they needed, so I started taking lists, and I tried to meet those needs the best I could. And since I couldn't, I started a Facebook page, New Bedford Homeless Advocates, and I started with probably 100 people, grew up to 4,000.
Wow.
What I do is if I don't have the needs now in the warehouse or anything, I don't have it, is I put it on a Facebook page.
And people donate.
And people donate. I get it within 10 minutes. It could be from a refrigerator to a new, somebody just got into an apartment from homeless, to a tent, sleeping bags. It could be almost anything. Diapers for women in need.
Now, when you sat down, you said, all right, this is it. I'm up to 4,000 people. Like, you just, all of a sudden, it took off fast. It was a fast moving process. How many people do you have helping you out doing this now daily?
On a daily basis, it's out of the 4,000, it's probably, I'd say 800 to 1,000 are actually active. And so, because people just, they like my page, they join my page, and a lot of times they just don't do anything with it. But right now I have a good core group. Like I said, I'm incorporated board of directors, treasurer, and we just, for some reason, we get what we need to get it done. Basically, we could still use a lot of donations, like of jeans, backpacks, stuff like that, and money. Money.
Yeah, money always works. Now, if we're looking to donate, and I know you and I had spoke about this, and you already have a vendor set where you got. I mean, he was talking about getting socks and stuff at $0.25 a pair, and underwear at 20 cents, whatever. You said some crazy numbers that we could never get. Right. It's just you, through your time and through your work and through your due diligence, you found these companies that will actually deliver these socks. If you could at the end maybe let us know where we can donate. But then we also talked about a lot of people just like giving. Right. Like, hey man, I got these socks. It just feels good to go to Walmart, and when you're there, and let me grab a 10-pack of socks. I know people did it for Jamie over at Packer when he asked for it this winter. If they just wanted to come and say, hey, Pete, I want to go bring you some stuff to you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they go to our Facebook page, New Bedford Homeless Advocates, Inc.
Yep.
Or they could reach me by my cell phone, or you want me to give myself?
If you like.
My cell phone number is 508-991-0875. But the best thing to do actually is to go to the Facebook page and join and help our cause.
I just went on. It's a group, and you actually have to join in order to participate. So, I mean, it's 3,100 right now. So I saw some people in the group. I mean, join the group and help your area. You and I also discussed, the unfortunate topic of what a lot of people say, hey, this guy's helping the homeless out, but the homeless sometimes can be a problem in our city. We looked at the, and you surprised me with your answer when I said, how do you feel about these panhandlers that are in the city? Because everything you read about panhandlers, Josh, I mean, it's always, that's the topic, it's a hot topic of
conversation.
Now, how do you feel? Like, you surprised me with your answer.
Yes, I don't like the panhandle, and actually I don't believe that there should be any panhandlers out there, only because of the amount of services that there are here in New Bedford. We have blessed with so many services, so many good agencies supplying services, and also we have, if they want food, there's always some place to get food. We have soup kitchens, we have the Mobile Ministries food truck, there's breakfast every morning, there's supper every night, and there's lunches during the day, and and there's clothing, and there's food pantries. And so what they're actually doing with this money, I don't know. It could be a lot of needy people that, really, really needy people that need the money, maybe to support like their apartment or stuff like that. Of course, then you have the people that are scrupulous people that are doing just to earn money, because I see a lot of them, they get in their cars a lot of times, and also that, for the drugs and alcohol.
Well, of course, that's honestly what the main thing is, what people think, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're dealing with these homeless people. Do you come across a lot of families?
Yes. This winter I've come across, there was 3 families that I can mention with children living on the storefronts downtown. And we got a call and we went and rescued them. And there was nothing at that time. It was like getting towards dark. There's nothing we could do. So we actually, I had to put them up in motels.
Now, who pays for that?
At that time, I did, and then what we did was I put it on on our Facebook page, and then I more or less gathered
some funds.
But
at first, you're pulling a lot of this money out of your pocket.
Yes.
Again, folks, we're talking to Peter Costa from New Bedford Homeless Advocates, and in case you're just tuning in, and Peter's doing some of God's work out there, helping the homeless, and we're trying to get shed some light on what he does, collect some money and supplies for him. Join his Facebook page, New Bedford Advocates Inc. after the show, of course. Don't leave here to go to the show. Segueing from that question, we also tonight have guest Josh Amaral, school committee member. Josh, as a school committee member, let me just ask you a question. Do we have a plan for homeless children at the school?
Yes, I would say that New Bedford is in a pretty decent place as far as managing this. We have a really good family welcome center. I actually know Peter a little bit because we both sit on the Homeless Service Providers Network group that meets monthly. Yeah. And the school department is represented at those meetings with the registrar, the person that works at the Family Welcome Center. So those students are covered under the McKinney-Vento Act, which provides them for transportation from place to place.
Yep.
We also identify those students and try to provide them with services. People are typically pretty surprised to hear about the number of students that are considered homeless.
Do you have a figure off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I can't offer one, but I could get it for you after.
Yeah.
Peter might have a better idea of that. But
it's a little larger than what I thought it was, because I had
Mm-hmm.
spoke to my wife in the past, and she brought up, we get kids without homes. I'm like, wait a second.
Part of it is that for kids, youth, school-age children, if they're so-called couch surfing, they're counted as homeless. So they don't necessarily have a home of their own, or
but
they're traveling with their parents'
with
place
relatives.
to place.
Even with relatives, they're considered homeless, really, because they are homeless.
Well, they are homeless because at any moment something bad happens, they could be out in the street.
Well, right, exactly. So I mean, it's still a situation that needs to be solved, and we've got some good stuff at New Bedford High School as far as the Whaler's Attic. They're trying to provide some food and clothing to kids who need it at the high school in a discreet way, so it doesn't become that sort of thing. But we've tried to make some inroads on identifying those students and working with them, and I think it's exciting to work with Peter and all the other service providers around these issues.
Excellent. I didn't realize.
They're not walking the street.
We kind of crossed. I've had Josh booked for a while, and Peter came in on the show as well recently. So it's good that it worked out, because we didn't realize that. I didn't realize. I shouldn't say we. Probably people less ignorant than I am. A lot more than that. A lot more than a few people. But I didn't realize that you guys were that proactive with homeless children. It's good.
I mean, it's not to say we have all the answers. I'm sure we could be doing a better job. I'm sure we all feel that way.
The money that the city pays for shuffling for out-of-towners, because you actually have to go and get them in the other town or bring them here to another town.
Depending on the dates and where they're from. I mean, you might have a family that...
I'll stand at the Dartmouth hotels.
Yeah, or they're from New Bedford originally. They've become homeless. Now they are settled in, say, Wareham, where, just depending on the circumstance, we're responsible for paying the cost of some of the transportation, because the kids get to choose to continue to go to school where they went to school before, which I agree with.
But there is a cost attached to it.
Yeah, and we've had to get kind of efficient with, are there multiple children in sort of a geographic area where you can bundle them rather than sending one van per kid? That gets expensive. So we want to provide the best environment for them, but resources become an issue.
So this winter you had, now that with Josh we were talking about you know, the families kind of, it sounds like more like the couch surfers in that, in those instances.
Well, the kids.
The kids. Now, do you really see kids out in the streets sometimes?
No. We get kids that we have to put them up somewhere. They can't be out in the streets. They have to have shelter somewhere. And so more or less is we put them in motels. There's a state agency, DHCD, that runs out of DTA that's supposed to handle this. But with you know, the hurricane in Puerto Rico and all the replaced families that we're dealing with in this city, that it's, you know, it's overwhelmed.
Yeah, United Way is doing a pretty good job with them.
Yes,
you know,
the Family Resource Center, United Way.
Yeah,
yes,
because I mean, I was dealing with them when I did the Kids for Puerto Rico toy drive for Christmas, and they were pretty on top of it.
Darlene Spencer.
Darlene did an excellent job. Anything I needed, she was like, "We got this many fans, that many fans."
Awesome.
To the point where she was updating me every minute. I'm like, "All right, Darlene, we're gonna get enough presents, I promise." You know, I got a good team, Christian, Manny, and we did well with that toy drive. But they were on top of things, and they were really on. You know,
they have great team there.
Big shout out to Edwin for that. Since we're talking about it, he's the one who connected me with Darlene, and he's been involved. I mean, you met with him yesterday. Right. You guys always doing stuff. It's always the same.
Edwin are good friends.
I keep going around in these circles with this show and meeting with people, and it seems like the same players are always involved helping the community. Yeah. And a lot of people need to recognize that you have some special people in the city that are really invested into what they do, and you know. Now we had sat down early and you talked about doing these almost like drop-in centers, mobile medical or mobile dentistry. You got one coming up. You had one in the past recently.
I have one going on now. For hepatitis B screening, go on to different parts of the city with a van doing hepatitis B screening for because they got a federal funds to do this because of the opioid crisis, and they're going around, and we got them to go around to the different spots of the city, and we offer them different things to know they get screened and stuff like that, and a vaccine and stuff like that. So, and now we have it's going to be coming up next week or the week after. First Health out of Fall River is going to be coming around with a van, mobile unit to do teeth cleanings, dental cleanings, and stuff like that, and so I can serve them.
So there are some services that you're out there, and
we have to keep them healthy.
Yeah,
we have to keep
definitely do. I mean, we had one that perished at Buntwood Park this past year.
Yes,
I'm sure you probably know who he is.
Yeah.
Did you come across that individual often, or
no? Because more or less it's like I didn't even know he was there. Actually, you know what I mean? Because I'm mostly concerned is like downtown, north end, and south end. Yeah, and that's really the west end. Is you don't typically see a lot of people in the west end unless they're panhandling.
Yeah.
But no, the main thing is to keep them healthy, and that's what we do at the Bedford Homeless Advocates. We try to help them survive one more day. That's by putting clean socks, underwear they're on them, you know what I mean? Give them toiletries, because I do carry a thing of toiletries and stuff like that. So.
I met with Pete yesterday, walked into Dillon's, and I carry my little computer bag with my notes and all that, some diapers in here
I
too.
should have brought my bag.
If you ever need any diapers and you come across me and I'm walking around downtown. But Pete came in with his big bag, loaded, socks, underwear. He's ready to go. He's the real deal, and he's out there really trying to help people
every day
get their needs. And anybody in the military, or has been in the military, socks are important. Change your socks. Change your socks.
Feet clean.
Now we talked about your warehouse that you have down in the south end. There's costs incorporated in that. Is there any? I offered you because my real job. A lot of people don't realize this is I'm a court services coordinator for the trial court, and I'm in charge of the community service program down this way. And I said, you know what, we can bring some community service workers down to help you out. But are there, say people want to go to your warehouse and help you out? Is that a possibility too?
Yes, very. Especially what we like to do is bring family around, bring your kids. You know what I mean?
That's actually a life lesson.
We have Girl Scout troops, we have Boy Scout troops help us. And, get them involved, show them. There's other people out there that are in need, and help them out. And it's good. You know what I mean? Teach them some good life lessons.
Yeah.
Yes, you just get in touch with us on our Facebook page. Right there, just message me. You know what I mean? Peter Costa. Right there on Facebook.
Yeah. Another question for Josh. When it comes to this, any programs to show these kids. Like, I'm all about like what the sheriff's department used to do, the SLAM program.
Yep.
And now he has inmates go to the jail. I mean, go to schools.
Yep.
He actually puts kids in like fake cells and stuff to like show them. It's called the choices. What he does. Do we ever have any curriculum in the schools that we actually talk about homeless people, and maybe I'll divide this into separate sections of the question, like to shed a light on some of these kids that we just finished talking about that are, you know, the couch surfing kids, and also to maybe show a little kindness towards this population and help understand why they're homeless and some of the decisions they made, or maybe the mental health issues. You know, do we have anything like that in the schools right now to shed light to this? I
know when I was in school here in New Bedford, a lot of those topics were covered as part of like the health curriculum. I suspect some of them still are, but I don't know for sure. Just as Peter was talking about, you know, bringing kids around and showing them and doing all this stuff, it made me think a little bit of gifts to give, right? Which
absolutely.
I was thinking the same thing.
Part of I mean, the way Jim Stevens over there, who is incredible, I mean, they do such good work there. Part of the way he pitches it, right, is that the whole operation of giving away the stuff and having the thrift store and having people donate and all that stuff, that's really just a mechanism for what he wants to do, which is to get kids involved in service learning and get them that experience of giving back and working toward the community stuff. So, yeah, it's impressive that they give away as many clothes as they do, and it's helpful to people. But what he's into, what the purpose of it is getting the kids involved. So, you know, at first I would guess that a lot of people's reaction is like, are we sure we want the kids going around the homeless? You know, I mean, with the supervision and stuff, obviously you gotta check your boxes off. But
I mean, there are some shady characters that are out there doing it. But
but the just the general idea of making people a little bit more aware of it and a little bit more tolerant about it. You know, I'm with Peter. You know, and I drive by a panhandler, I think like, that's really not making the city look good to people who are coming in to go explore downtown or go hang, you know, just check out the city.
He says it straight up. I mean, this is a guy that's an expert in the field. He knows that there are plenty of services for these people where they don't need to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a public health issue. I mean, a public safety issue.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's just, people get hurt. You know, what I mean, you get hit them and stuff like that. It's just, it's like I don't understand it. But when the kids like volunteer, they don't actually come in contact with homeless people. We hold events every Friday night. We set up tables and we give out clothing to all the area homeless and needy. And we have a lot of children there, but they're behind the barrier, and they're not, you know, to shake hands or anything, to stay behind there with their parents and stuff like that.
So if I wanted to see this on Friday, where would it be?
At Packer parking lot, weather permitting. Because we can't have clothes out there in the rain. Like tomorrow, we had to cancel tomorrow. So
I got to show up to one of these. Let me know.
Yes, okay. I'll give you a call.
You know, I'm trying to. My kid's only 5, but I want to start him young. I'm going to start him fishing this year and actually start him getting out on the streets and seeing how lucky he is. He's at that age where you can kind of already notice. You know what I mean?
You know what I like to do is someday at noontime because I know you're very busy and I know you're right there at the courthouse. Meet at lunchtime. Walk downtown with me and help pass out socks and underwear.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to try that out. We'll shed some light to what's really going on out there.
Right.
Give me a week or two. I complained to you before the show how I've been burning the candle at both ends.
I know.
And the wick's about to run out.
I know, you're so busy, yes.
I was telling him yesterday, man, I'm just tired. And then today my phone goes off. Meet Dr. Mike. I'm like, I forgot about this meeting. And then I'm like, and then I looked and I went, I can't cancel a show I can't cancel a meeting with Dr. Mike and tell him no,
that's not allowed.
Too busy.
I'm burnt out, you know, because he's going to look at me like, yeah, okay. I'll tell you what, burnt out, that's a guy that's everywhere. Quickly, Pete, we got a few more minutes on this segment. If you came here, we were going to shed some light on what you do and what you need. Tell the viewers, this is Pete Costa from New Bedford Homeless Advocates, tell the viewers what it is that you need to help out and to get your cause and bring it to the next level, because I know that we discussed some stuff like, you know, streamlining it as far as categorizing things each day, what you give out and what you do, how many homeless people are out there, you know, setting up a little database. But what is it that you really need right now? If there's 5 people out there that say, I want to help out Pete today, what is it that they...
Well, there are 2 ways. Mostly we need socks and underwear where I have vendors, and you could actually purchase it right from the vendor and have it delivered to us. That way there you see where the money's going, like that. But we also need funds for to rescuing families. Like we rescue 2-year-olds off the street. I mean, sometimes DTA just puts them right on the sidewalk there because they can't serve them.
Yeah.
And we get the
DTA
call. We have
being South End
Right,
Department of Transitional Assistance.
right, the welfare officer. We have to go pick them up and find a place. A lot of times we can't. We have to put them into a motel.
You're doing this with your own car.
Right. Well, advocates. A lot of advocates will help. Advocates will go pick them up, and then we have to fund that ourselves. You know, I mean, I don't get paid. Nobody in my organization gets paid. It's all volunteer. We're not state funded, no grants or anything like that. But what we need is funds, so we're there, and we can have the funds in emergency. If there's a 2-year-old or a baby out on the streets, and even at night, and we get the call that we can rescue them, we have to put them up somewhere. We can't do anything. Police can't take them. Nobody can take them, but we take them, and I feel led by God. God wants us.
Yeah,
I have to do something.
Now, we do have shelters here, but the shelters pretty much are just...
Yeah, no family shelters.
No family
shelters. Not
There's
on
no
emergency
wet
basis.
shelters. Wet shelters meaning that a lot of these people have substance abuse issues. So, you know, if as some people like to call them, if you're a junkie, there's no place for you to go. That's why they're out in the streets. They're out, you know. So I understand, hey, you know, one doesn't go with the other, but hey, it's an issue we're having. It's an epidemic out there, and we got to make sure that people aren't dying on the streets because they're cold or wet and getting sick, you know. So
Pregnant ladies,
Pregnant
pregnant girls walking the streets.
well, we had the pregnant panhandler. She was a record pregnant for what, 17 months straight?
My whole adult life.
She's been pregnant?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I get calls from pregnant women, you know, that they're homeless. You know, I mean, they're actually considered a family.
Oh, yeah.
She's actually considered a family.
Absolutely.
And there's hardly any space for homeless women at all. And just for regular homeless women, you know, you get, 8 beds at the Grace House, probably got another 8 at Sisters of Charity, and the other place would be the House of Hope. But, you know what I mean?
We're limited.
These ladies, I mean, they're doing whatever they can to put a roof over their head. You know what I mean? It's horrible.
Yeah.
We have to do something with them, and it's
One other
just
thing I
costing
wanted
us a
to
lot of
touch
money.
on that also comes down to money, is that you help people get city IDs, you get them squared away with birth certificates, social security cards, mass IDs, and this is all for the purpose of getting them on their feet and helping them out,
Right.
get
So get a job.
services,
Get a
jobs
job.
and all that.
Right.
And that costs money for you to get them through that process as
Yes,
well.
yeah.
You know, he's not just, oh, I know when you say, hey, give me money so I can get these guys put up, but he's also using the money to get these people on their feet and be productive again.
Oh, yes.
You're also trying to get them into detox. You work with PACA. You give a lot of PACA guys rides.
We give rides. We give rides on it, you know, to all around Massachusetts. You know, and
Yeah. Well, you said at 7:30 when I said, all right, you got you to 7:30, and you
I
said,
gotta
yeah,
go.
I gotta go. Where are you going tonight?
Tonight we're delivering, picking up some homeless people and bring them to the shelters. The overflow shelter is open tonight, and so a lot of them are out there because it's going to get really, really cold. It's going to pour out all day tomorrow. So I need to get out there and to get them into the shelter. And when I get to the shelter, I bring out my bag and just give them all. And we have boxes of jeans and toiletries and stuff that we're going to give out tonight, because when they're in that shelter, they're allowed. They get a hot meal and they get a shower. But, you know, they need to clean underwear, they need to clean socks.
Yeah, no matter if you clean yourself and you're throwing dirty clothes on.
Right, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't work.
So that's what we're there for.
Anything else, Pete? You good? We got everything out of you that we need to, or did I miss something?
Yeah, just please give.
Yeah.
Please give. Please help
Bedford
us.
Advocates Inc. on Facebook. Join the group.
Please help us.
I just joined, so make sure you approve my, so I can try to shed some light on it again, you know. If we, some people ask, because I run across people, it seems like I'm trying a cause each week. What can I do to help? So you're one that I'll throw on the Rolodex, you know.
Anybody out there that God maybe touches your heart in order to give to help these families and these children, please help us help them, please. I got to run, okay?
Pete?
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you, Pete.
Yeah,
Good
God
to see
bless
you.
you.
You too.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Peter, God bless you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Peter Costa, New Bedford Homeless Advocates. Each week I'm meeting new people, and I keep coming across people that are just dedicating their lives to helping the city. Whether they're kids affected by opioids, people in need of a kidney, cancer survivors, domestic abuse survivors. Every week we're meeting people, and every week we're seeing those that are helping solve these issues and helping remedy what's going on in New Bedford. And we met one again tonight, Pete. Good guy, New Bedford Homeless Advocates Incorporated. If you find it in your heart to give, join that group on Facebook after the show, because we still got our next guest, school committee member and assistant director of PACE, or director?
Fuel assistance and planning. Basically.
Planning.
Yeah.
Josh Amaral.
How are you?
We already had Josh ask a couple questions and tune in throughout the show, but this segment is totally dedicated to you, buddy.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Second time around.
Yeah, at least. I've been in this room a few times, but yeah, this is the second time with you. Yeah.
And the last time we talked, there was still a superintendent that's still working currently, Pia Durkin, but she was, at the time, she hadn't turned in her intent to resign.
Right, yeah. In fact, I think when we were together last, we were kind of talking about the future, what that might look like.
And the future was last week. I was there when you guys voted.
That's right, yep.
I scooted. I didn't have time to talk, and I apologize.
That's all right. It took me forever to get out of there.
So Mike sent me on a mission just to record real fast. Josh was busy. Mike was busy, so I said, I'll go take care of it. I'll throw it on live. Thomas Anderson seems like a qualified candidate. We had Paul Santos, who's helping out New Bedford Guide, interview all the candidates.
Yep.
Interviewed well on our show. Seems like he did a good job with you guys, because you all voted except for one for him. Yeah,
I actually I had an even more filled experience, I guess, because I was on the screening committee too. So before the finalists came before the full school committee, we did the whole public interview thing. They came to the district and all that. Before that, I was part of the screening committee representing the school committee, and we interviewed 9 people and whittled that group of 9 down to 4. And we had seen some candidates. I had liked a few of them. I want to say we interviewed like 5 or 6 people, but I wasn't sold on anyone. Nobody had me like feeling really great about it
at the jump.
About 5 or 6 people in. Thomas Anderson came in the room next. I want to say it was 6th or 7th or something like that. And at the end of his interview, I said, if that's the best candidate we got, I feel really good about it.
No kidding, that good, huh?
Yeah, he was outstanding. And a lot of people have said this to me since, and I don't know that I saw it that way at the time, but I agree with him that on paper he's probably the most qualified candidate that we have.
He's been around.
Yeah, so he's worked in huge school districts with like 150,000 kids down in Montgomery County, Maryland. He's worked in huge urban districts in like Washington, D.C., not in the suburbs, the city side. And then he's come up to Massachusetts and really acquainted himself with the Massachusetts education system and the language and how we talk about it in Randolph, which is a fraction of the size of New Bedford.
Absolutely.
But they've got similar urban challenges, right? I mean, they are very diverse, probably even more so than New Bedford. Someone told me along the way that they have to translate the stuff that they send home into 42 different languages to meet everybody's home language, which is crazy. Incredible. I'm sure in New Bedford it's quite a bit, but I don't think it's 42.
I don't think it's 42 either.
And it's a town. It's a different kind of style of government where you've got the selectmen and you've got a school committee, and there's no mayor, so that's a little bit different. But he's really managed that well. And I'll be honest, I didn't find much use in calling the people's references that they listed on their applications, right? Because most of them gave a letter of reference from that person anyway, and it was glowing, of course, right?
Well, I'm not going to put somebody that dislikes me or disagrees with me.
Yeah, so we can all find 3 people to say nice things about us, I think. Hopefully, mine are in the comments, but
it'll get there.
We can all find 3 that say nice things. It's the other people, the folks that I might know in Randolph from a school committee conference or that I've met through work or something like that.
Yeah.
That I reach out to a lot of those people. And at the end of those conversations, which were all positive about Thomas, I usually ask them, like, hey, is there anybody else that I should be talking to, like, that could give me, a balanced opinion of the guy? And I ended up talking to someone from Randolph who's someone that's very trustworthy, been around a long time, knows things. I expected it to be like most of the calls I had, which were 10 or 20 minutes, I ended up talking to the guy for an hour and a half.
No kidding.
And I joked with Thomas when he came to the district. I got a chance to meet with all the candidates for coffee. So they went to breakfast with 2 school committee members. They went to lunch with 2 school committee members. They had coffee with me. And I told him at the time, he was like describing his family. He was saying, I've got 2 sons and I've got a daughter and my wife does this and that. And I said, yeah, I know. I've done so much background work. I know all this stuff.
But you pretty much dug deep into this guy.
Yeah. Well, he was really
more so than any of the other members.
Well, I dug into all of them pretty good because, like I said, I was really impressed with them after the screening committee. But after we picked the 4 finalists, I kind of reset, right? I don't want to say I was blown away by this guy at this stage, so he's my guy now, right? Yeah. And, people sort of jockey for positions. So, like, you interview somebody on the Monday and you say, like, wow, I really like, I could see this working, right? But by the end of the process, I ended up back in the same spot.
You always, no matter how impressive that candidate was, he stuck out.
He was the second to last person that we interviewed. And
what was the best part about him? Like, you say, hey, this is our guy because.
Yeah. So I think his management style is like a perfect fit for what we need.
Which is?
He sees things through like the leadership lens. So he's not a micromanager. Which we've heard complaints about that things are micromanaged, that central office folks are constantly in schools, and principals and teachers don't have enough autonomy to do the things that they need to do.
Yeah.
And that, education is like that largely nowadays, but it's even more extreme here, right? And there are people who 3 or 4 years ago would have said that's necessary in New Bedford because we've got to turn around a lot of this stuff in a very quick period of time, and the only way to do that is to get down into it. So we did that, right? But now it's the time to sort of empower some of those people and let some of those people grow as leaders. So principals should absolutely have more autonomy and more ability to make those decisions for themselves.
They're a high-ranking official in the school system, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So they should be able to run their own school with their own style.
Well, we can't say
based on guidelines.
Yeah, we can't say that the school is like your domain. This is your place.
No.
Except for when this or this is happening.
Yeah.
And then it's
if
not.
Something bad happens, you're responsible for it. Yeah.
So. I like that he has a track record of empowering his staff and just trying to manage the big picture.
Yeah.
I think that's good. He seems to really have a positive effect on our teaching staff. So I've said this a bit. I mean, if he was an unpopular candidate, I would have picked him because I think he's the right person for the job, and I think his skills really stand out. But it just so happened that by the end of this process, there was a lot of community support for him. I had heard heard from more people calling me, sending emails, things like that, that we needed to hire this guy than I had for any of the other candidates. And not that that's how you make a decision, but when the right decision also happens to be the popular decision,
it's assurance.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's assurance. It's kind of like an attaboy, when you're at...
And it was people who don't always or very rarely agree with each other. So you have veteran teachers who have been a little bit fed up with the way that they've been treated in the system.
Yeah.
They like this guy, and they don't know him from anybody, right? I mean, they just heard him interview. And I know based on my own background work that the things he said in the interview were pretty genuine, right? I mean, sometimes people interview and they sell you a bill of goods, but he talked about his experience, and that resonated with those folks. At the same time, there's folks from community organizations and things like that usually don't agree with these people, but they both agree that this guy is the right fit for what we need right now.
It was 4-1, so a lot of people agreed. Well, no, it was 4-1 right away. The first 5 votes. So he was out, and then there was 2 other votes that were like, I don't really matter, but I'm going to just vote anyway.
I cast the 4th vote, I think. So
you did, and then the wiki.
She also did.
Wiki, and then it was the mayor, obviously.
And then the mayor,
vote. He brought
and the only person that voted
was John
against him was John, and John had said, sort of immediately after that. This would have been like his second choice. That
I
supports
talked to John.
Him, so
John had told me earlier who he thought was who was going to be, because I had him on the week prior.
Right.
And here's the thing with John's vote. Yes, she had ownership in the house, like as far as New Bedford as well. Because she's local. She's she knows the neighbors, she knows the people. And I kind of had discussed with John on the side why I didn't think it'd be a good fit, because the pendulum was going to swing way too far from one end to the other, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a fear that I'd heard from people. Yeah, for sure.
And I heard it from others, and people were talking, hey, you're going to go from the Antichrist, as Dr. Durkin's known as by some of her teachers, you know what I mean, to my buddy.
Right.
And you have problems when you work for your friends.
Yeah,
at
so
some
that
point.
being
Because
a local,
when you have to be a boss sometimes, they're like, hey man, I thought you were my friend, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden we have an issue.
being a local candidate's kind of a blessing and a curse in that
It is,
way.
exactly, that's my point.
I mean, as a New Bedford High alum and somebody that's like from New Bedford, born in New Bedford, loved New Bedford, I was excited by the passion and enthusiasm of having like a local person.
Absolutely.
And I think Dr. Larkin is a tremendous candidate, and if she wants to be a superintendent somewhere, she absolutely will be. Was this the right fit at the right time? Ultimately, I thought.
She had a good candidate running against her.
Yeah, I thought Mr. Anderson was the right guy.
And like you say, it's a curse too, because I'm sure you heard the same stuff I did.
Well, so that's the curse side, right? Is people know you and like you, but then there's some people who know you and maybe not, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're running a 2,000 person enterprise, that's as important as education. There's going to be pulls and tugs coming at you from different angles from people that you know, whether that's good or bad. It makes it even difficult.
You're going to struggle with that.
Even more difficult to make tough decisions.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
The thing that I really liked about Mr. Anderson too, that I didn't have to worry about so much of that was not only is he relatable to people and they feel like they'll be treated fairly with him, but he also has a track record of holding people accountable and making sure that the trains run on time and that things are getting done. So Randolph was a level 4 school district, which is like,
where you guys were at.
Yeah, exactly. It's right at the basically the bottom of the state's accountability ladder.
Ready to get taken over.
Now, they didn't have any level 4 schools, so their issues there were mostly like governance related, so like administrative stuff, how the administration worked with the school committee, how the school committee and the administration worked with the selectmen and things like that. And that was all before he got there, well before he got there. Well, he got them out of that level 4 status. So he's built relationships with the state folks, and usually I'm the ones that I'm the person that's sort of opposing what the state's telling us on any given day. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you have to have the skills to work with them and sort of negotiate and work toward the best interests of your community and push back when you need to, but compromise when you need to as well. And I think he's got that skill set. So I think he'll continue things on.
Talked about the home court advantage. But a downfall that I saw that was a possible downfall with the choice candidate that you guys finally decided on. Do you get nervous at all? Because he's not an old guy. He's a young guy still. Mm-hmm. He's moved around quite a bit. Did you say, hey, how come this guy keeps shuffling around?
Yeah, so I looked into that a little bit, right? Because the last thing that I want is somebody to come into New Bedford for 2 or 3 years and then
back at it again,
and then skip away to another place. And he, I think he's pretty forthcoming with the fact that he has moved around. He's moved to different jobs. But throughout his whole resume, every time he's moved, it's for a promotion of sorts, right? It's for a new position. So he's gone from, being a principal to being an area superintendent. And then he's gone from being an area superintendent to being he was like the executive director, the founder of a charter school in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So he had experience being like the executive, right? Like running the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he took that and he became superintendent in Randolph. So now he's been a superintendent of an urban district, but a smaller district. So now this is a logical step up that it's an urban district. There's a lot of challenges, but the district, he said this, is the right size, where you can be involved, what's going on. You're not just managing from an office somewhere. You can be out there involved in the community, but also big enough to be a real challenge and have a huge impact by doing things well. So it makes sense. This is a logical place for him to be. Now, based on what I see of the guy, I think he's really talented, and he can probably do anything, right?
Yeah.
When I see the guy, I see somebody that could go on to be.
He presents himself well, and you can say, "Hey, this guy's going to make it no matter
exactly,
where he goes."
And to be honest with you, that's not a terrible thing for New Bedford if he wants to stick around here for 6 or 8 years, and then he goes on to become the Secretary of Education or something.
Superintendent position, especially in a city like New Bedford.
Yep.
Every 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, the state average.
State
average in an urban school district is between 3 and 4 years. The average in a non-urban district is like 5 years, maybe 7.
Well, here's the reason for it. We're going to get right to it.
Yeah.
Dr. Anderson, great choice, I think. Many agree. And the whole school committee basically agreed, minus one. And
he really kind of agreed.
And then his decision afterwards was, hey, man, if I didn't vote for mine, I would have voted for him. Of course. But the fact of the matter is, until parents step up, it doesn't matter who becomes superintendent. Because a lot of the issues in our school are from parents who aren't doing their job.
There's a lot of factors, though, and I do want to be cautious about.
Well, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw it on your lap.
Yeah.
But you can. Let's touch upon this because I think no matter who the superintendent was, he's going to have problems because he's just going to not magically come and throw his Dr. Anderson pixie dust on the schools and then
talk through
peachy again.
So I think you're right. I think there are more factors at play than who the superintendent is, right? And after the honeymoon period wears off with
that's the point.
Anderson, right? Yeah. We're still going to have some of the same problems we have now.
Absolutely.
And I know Dr. Durkin is a sort of a convenient scapegoat for a lot of things in the community, and a lot of people throw stuff out there and accuse her of stuff that really isn't founded. But
her bedside manner has really
this
hurt her
because
she's probably done some positive, but because of the small little bedside manner issues that she has, people throw all that other stuff on her.
But exactly. But that other stuff, right, will still exist. Right?
Absolutely.
And some of that is absolutely community involvement. Is absolutely the really deep poverty in New Bedford. It's even more intense and kind of like acute here in New Bedford than it is in even other tough urban places.
Yes.
So these are big challenges, and they go way beyond who the superintendent is.
Absolutely,
right?
that's the point.
And they're multi-generational things. So there's no quick fix. Some of it's tied to the city's economic development. Some of it's tied to state, local, federal policies. There's a lot of different things that go into that equation. I've yet to meet a parent that wasn't really interested in their child's education. I've met parents who don't know how to jump into it, right?
I'm a husband of an educator in the city, so I hear the stories.
Yeah. Well,
there are those parents out there.
I haven't met them.
Especially from my wife is the email queen or the call queen. She calls parents and emails. She's on top of it all the time. And she's like, man, I feel like it falls upon deaf ears at times.
I think ultimately those people, you've got to be accountable. You've got to take care of your kids. That's a basic for you, for me, for my parents, thankfully, for a lot of people, right? I mean, if there's one thing that you're doing, that's
your main job.
It's being involved in taking care of your kids. Whatever else you're doing, that's on you, right? So I think we have to hold people accountable to that and expect them to do that. But we also have to recognize that it's not a perfect world, and we're going to have to deal with some of those things not working out that way.
Yes.
And
so how do you? Let's just stay on the topic.
Yeah.
These kids that come from these families that aren't really being supportive, how do you fix that?
So this is an answer that I'll sneak in a little complaint, right? Schools have increasingly become like the solution to everything, right?
Absolutely. So you're not only school teachers, you're everything at this point.
It's mental health, it's socio-emotional learning, it's actual physical health. There's concerns about kids being vaccinated coming in from other countries, and there's a backlog of that. So now that takes up some bandwidth of the school's time to figure out how to get these kids inoculated so they can get into class. That's a legit concern. 20 or 30 years ago,
we didn't think about that.
That's on you. You figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I think the focus is in the right place, which is we need these kids to be in school so they can learn. So we've got to take care of all these other things, because if the goal is getting them in a place where they can learn and feel safe, because you can't really learn if you're hungry and you don't feel safe. If we can't get you to that point, all this teaching and learning and the books we're buying and all that stuff is for naught. So we've had to sink additional resources into trying to address some of those things. But yeah, it's basically now the schools are like full service upbringing centers as opposed to just
Well, you're doing everything from the second they're getting it. You're transporting them in, you're feeding them.
Yep.
And you're feeding them again, and you're teaching them and counseling them.
Yep.
I know guidance counselors that are like, man, I didn't know this was what it entailed.
Right.
The job's changed, it's evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, the role of the traditional guidance counselor is sort of fading, and the rise of the wraparound coordinator, we call them sometimes, or socio-emotional specialist, or crisis counselor.
They're all in one. That's all wrapped.
Behavioral. There's a lot of different job titles in that particular field, and the reality is in New Bedford we don't have enough of them. In fact, one of the things I was scheduled to do tonight, but I'd rather come here and talk to you.
My man.
Was in Worcester. tonight. The Worcester School Committee is entertaining this thing where they're considering filing a lawsuit against the state because the state has been found to basically be short on what they're providing to education. So Massachusetts has a constitutional.
Did we talk about that the
Probably.
last time
I talk about it to just about anybody who'll listen.
Who'll listen? Yeah, you brought that up, and they're not getting reimbursed certain funds. And
yeah, so the state's got this formula that divvies up the funding to schools, and basically it's a little bit broken, and it probably costs us in New Bedford about 20 to 30 million. It probably costs Worcester like 40 to 50 million. There's a lot of, it's particularly the urban schools, right? Because here's the difference between New Bedford and Cambridge, right? So Cambridge
is a lot.
yeah. Cambridge might get screwed on the formula too, but they can raise taxes to make up the difference, and it's not really a big deal, right? In New Bedford, our taxpayers are already
strapped
to the limit and beyond, right?
We're beyond tax.
Someone said recently that New Bedford has the 6th highest commercial tax rate in the state.
It's uninvited to business.
And this isn't, I mean, we're not in Metro Boston, right?
No.
So there are places where, Amazon or whatever would probably pay to be the 6th highest commercial rate, but it's probably not New Bedford.
No.
And when you go back to this whole cyclical thing, right, of how do you build a community, that supports their children and funds their education and all that stuff, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. So do you have a thriving economy and a good local tax base with schools that are like really well funded, or does it start with the schools to produce those people that go back into society? I mean, nobody's got an answer to that question. It's all interrelated. But yeah, so the state's short on that. Brockton has said now that they're going to file a lawsuit.
What about you guys?
Worcester is thinking about it. Brockton's going to Worcester's meeting to signal support. I sent in written testimony instead of going up there.
Okay.
Should New Bedford join in? I think we'll probably read the tea leaves a little bit. We'll see what's going on, because here's the reality.
Just to jump into a lawsuit, you're just turning into, the types of, who can I complain about and crap on tonight? Maura Healey.
Okay.
She'll sue anybody, especially Trump, every chance she gets.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's grandstanding. You don't want to do that. You want to pick and choose where you're going to put your efforts into it.
This has been done before in the 90s. It was actually initiated by Brockton then, and they won. And that led to the formula that funds schools now, which is a lot better than what they had before, but 25 years have gone by and it's just a little outdated now, right? So
something that should be revisited quite often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems like it.
So, I mean, things that have skyrocketed in 25 years are special education costs and employee health insurance, right?
That's killing us, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say that the employees don't deserve it, but it's not adequately factored into our budget. So those costs have gone up like, say tenfold in that time, and the formula's allowed it to go up like threefold, right? So the rest of that is falling squarely on our shoulders, and we're not getting enough for it. And that eats into things like the counselors that we provide to students, things like the number of teachers that we have. That's why we have class sizes that are in the 27, 28, 29 range, when we know that they should be in the 21, 22, 23 range. So a lot of those things go into it. But when you're talking about a lawsuit, you have to start to wonder if Brockton's going to do it, right? Does it add value for New Bedford to join in? Because we're already strapped for money, right? So we don't have money to put up for like all these legal bills.
Yeah. So all you'd be doing is offsetting Brockton's cost, basically.
Yeah. So like, just how would it work? There's no.
You just want to piggyback on them, right?
There's no organization set up right now to figure out how districts factor into that. So I'm very involved in the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and that's run by school committee members throughout the state. And they voted in November to commit resources from the organization to a potential lawsuit, to support a potential lawsuit, if it's viable, if it makes sense. And I would think that New Bedford's probably in a similar position, where if there's something we can do, if there's value that we can clearly add, and it's worth our while,
then do it.
We'll do it, and I'll make sure I'll push for that. But
now some of these other towns that would get adversely affected by this, which would be because the state's only got, this is the state's pie.
Yep.
And you're asking for a bigger chunk, so that means other people's slices are going to shrink.
Well, so not necessarily.
No?
So everybody's got the same formula, and everybody's kind of getting a raw deal, right? The difference is wealthier communities can tap into their tax base, and they go above what's called minimum net school spending, right? So the bare minimum that you need by state law to fund your schools, that's where New Bedford is every year. In fact, we fall just short of it, but short enough that it's okay. and then next year we make up for it. Right?
So you're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. Other communities, they might be able to go to like 120% of net school spending. So
you got to go, hey guys, you guys got to kick some in.
Yeah, well, what the state says, and I don't disagree, is that they need new revenue, right? So if they were able to get a massive windfall of new revenue, they would commit that to solving this problem. Now, there's a ballot question coming up that would, I guess, increase the taxes that people that are making like over $1 million would pay, their marginal tax rate or whatever.
Tax and success.
Yeah, well, or paying their fair share. It depends. But
punishing success, I call it, so you can tell you can see where I stand.
Yeah, we won't take it down there, but I will say this: if that passes, and the polling, we're still far away, but the polling seems to be that it would. That would produce enough revenue to close that gap in schools.
Because that's just going to kick the can again down the road.
Well,
how about we streamline and start getting rid of waste?
So, what do we waste?
A lot.
Like what?
Let's just see. Like I said earlier, I do a community service program.
Yep.
So we do stuff with the city all the time, and we did, for example, one time we were sent to the old Abe Lincoln School.
Yep.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, can you clean out this room?
Yeah.
There must have been $40,000 worth of paper that was just wasted because it sat down there, was never used.
Yeah. So
then at the end of July 1, when you're like, hey, we have this extra money, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Let's spend it on dumb stuff.
Well, so here's
there's waste everywhere.
Things have changed, though. Things have changed.
All right. I'm going to take your word for it.
We've realized a lot of efficiencies in how we spend money and how we use money, and it's about as bare as it gets now. At least in the school department.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the city, although anecdotally I hear the same thing.
Yeah, it seems like it's all across the board.
Yeah. Now, I
think a lot of the issue is your pension system and your insurance.
It's part of it. I mean, the insurance is a big deal for us.
It's killing you guys about 30% of your budget
not quite that much, but yeah,
I'm saying citywide.
Yeah, it's substantial. Yeah, it's substantial.
Huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yep, and again, we're trying to retain and attract good teachers.
Absolutely.
And you got to provide the benefits and everything, of course. But yeah, you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, this formula says that we should receive X amount of dollars in funding, but our costs are, through the roof. There's something wrong here. And enough people have acknowledged that. The legislature's acknowledged that. Everybody's acknowledged it. But yet we still don't really have a solution.
Any of the local state reps or senators on board to help you guys out?
Yeah, they have been. They've been very receptive. So I've been working the phone. I've been talking to a lot of them. They were pretty helpful to me in getting a bill voted out of the Joint Committee on Education, which actually proposes the fix for this.
Yeah.
Of course, it's unfunded, but this is how you'd fix it if you had the money.
If you had the money, this is what we do.
And if we can get that passed, when the money becomes available someday, you would have sort of a clearly articulated way of doing that, and that would fix the whole lawsuit problem, right? So lawsuits are ugly. The legislature doesn't like them because the courts start making things up, and that's not helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
The administrative people start going crazy. It's just not. It's not a good situation.
Not a good situation.
But if it's the last resort, it's the one that
it is
we
what
have
it
to
is.
take. Yeah.
Time. Josh is going to kill me like he does every week. I want to touch on two things. One is being your day job, but we'll do that at the end.
Sure.
So I want to spotlight that. You're doing some good stuff there. I'm going to bring up one topic, and I'm going to let you bring up one topic. One thing I really wanted to talk about was I've talked with Mayor Lang about this in the past. I think we brought it up. I talked to John about it. He agrees with it 100%. Most of our industry in this country, most of our needs in this country aren't 4-year degree needs.
Yeah.
They're not, most of the jobs available to people, and especially with the amount of college debt run up for no damn reason, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Are we going to start thinking about what you and I have talked about? We're going to start thinking about, hey, let's get vocational back into public schooling. You don't have to worry about. We have New Bedford Voc, but guess what? New Bedford Voc is very limited.
Yeah.
Are we going to get off this standardization of education and just getting people to test well to get into college? Or are we going to start teaching kids skills at a young age again?
Well, you already know I'm not a big testing guy,
Yeah.
teacher to the test guy.
When you teach to the test, all you're doing is saying that every kid's exactly alike. Here's a brick, and they're all the same.
Oh, it just doesn't.
That doesn't make sense.
It's proven at this point that it doesn't really
work.
tell you what's going on. So, you're measuring schools by the level of test scores of the kids in them. You're really measuring the neighborhood. You're really measuring the parents' level of wealth for the most part.
Education, wealth, everything.
Yeah, so we know that that's not a good way to talk about schools anymore. So the questions become, what do we want to measure? What matters to us, right? Yeah. And one of the things that matters to us, probably the most important thing that matters to us, is that kids leave school able to have a successful life. Now you can define that in any number of ways, right? But for most people, that means they want to have the skills to get a job, to get work, so that they can provide for their family and
and grow.
Exactly. So we know now too that the job market is flooded with people with bachelor's degrees in a whole host of academic subjects, and the real need is in the trades, right? And we also see that New Bedford Voke's doing really good work. So they've got programs there. I got to admit, I was a little bit ignorant too, and I did a site visit actually for one of our superintendent candidates at Voke. Went around shop to shop and saw all the different things they had there, and they had stuff I didn't even.
It's amazing
fully
what
realize.
they got going on there.
Yeah, it's a good place, right? It's great, and I leave the building thinking, our kids need that stuff too. So, just by way of the way admissions for high school go in the city now. Voke is selective. They have the ability to have an application process and everything. New Bedford High, we take everybody. People perceive schools in different ways, and they make decisions based on those things. But Voke is a good value for a lot of people, right? Because even if your child has no intention on being a cosmetologist, right?
They're still getting their regular education.
Yeah, but even if they're not going to do that as a career. But they're going to get their regular education, they're going to get a trade on the side, and then they're going to go to college and become an engineer, right? I mean, that's possible, right?
That's the opportunity allotted at a vocational
school.
So
what are we offering at New Bedford High School that can compete with that, right? And it might not even be the same trades, right? It might be something different, something new. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and they said, what about something to do with like solar, right? So New Bedford's on the sort of the verge of a lot of this green energy development. Solar is obviously one of those kind of emerging technologies. There's going to be a ton of solar panels all over the place, not just in New Bedford, but in the world. And we're going to need people to take care of them and replace them and do this and that. That's probably an opportunity for people to go into a trade. And it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Same thing could be said for offshore wind. Someone's going to have to get up there on the... I hope it's not
real. Offshore wind seems like the next New Bedford saving grace. So.
Yeah. But someone's going to have to go, a mile up into the air to, replace the batteries on
somebody.
Yeah, exactly. However that works. So that's a potential trade. There's a lot of those things.
Are we... Josh, are you sitting down at the school committee's meetings and saying, hey, we got to change that, we got to open this up?
Let's start it soon. I can't claim full credit for this, but I know I brought up, it was probably two and a half years ago at this point, that Taunton High School, which is a comprehensive high school similar to that in New Bedford, they had applied for what's called Chapter 74 programs, which is basically the state funding that allows for vocational education. So vocational education, rightfully, you get more dollars per student than you do in a comprehensive school because there's an increased cost for equipment.
Absolutely.
You got to have teachers that are, it's tough to convince somebody that's a master electrician to jump into a classroom for $40,000, right? Yeah. So there's some added costs to things like that. So I had said, hey, Taunton High is getting this Chapter 74 money at their comprehensive high school, which seems like a kind of a unique thing to me. Why don't we pursue that a little bit? And this year, the school department submitted a proposal to the state for a Chapter 74 culinary program. They didn't get it, right? But one of the things that we learned throughout that process is there's a lot more to this than just like filling out an application and sending it in, right? So we've created a position, and I see it as an investment, really. We've created a position at the high school called the Manager of Career and Technical Education. Similar to at Voke, they have a Principal of Career and Technical Education. It's a similar position to that. That person's going to become the point person on the next set of applications or application. They'll be well versed in the regulations.
So we're at our infancy of turning New Bedford around into having vocational trainings at the high school.
Now we're still going to keep the things we do good at, right? We're still going to keep our top tier AP programs, which we've got, just about as many or more than anybody.
Yeah.
We've got an AP capstone program. We've got dual enrollment opportunities for middle schoolers to go to high school, for high schoolers to go to college. We've got some impressive stuff. We're going to keep doing that. That's our wheelhouse. We're a comprehensive high school. It's never going to be like Voc, where there's 27 different shops, right? But if we can do 3 to 5 really high quality vocational type programs at the high school, and attract kids that way,
That's a success.
give the kids we've got that extra skill, I think that's a really good thing. And the reality is, at the high school, for as many top tier, high achieving students that we have that go on to really great universities and great careers and everything else, we've got a lot of kids too that
they're workers. They want to work.
Yeah, and they need it immediately, right? I mean,
there's kids that can't go to school. It just doesn't work in their family plan.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Yeah.
They really need to get out at 18 and start earning and helping their family.
Well, the reality is
they got younger brothers and sisters that they're actually going to be responsible for, as well as like almost to financially help.
Last night at the high school, they had a community resource fair, right? Which is for a lot of kids and their parents to come into the school and see what's available in the community. And part of that, I mean, a lot of kids at the high school level are working.
Yeah.
And not because, they need money to go to the movies, right? Or sneakers, It's because they need to help their mom pay the rent. So those kids, they're not looking at going to, Brandeis to major in, cultural studies. Those are kids that are chomping at the bit to have a marketable skill so they can get a job and make $25 an hour to do something, when they're out of school.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know, it's not the majority of students. I think New Bedford High attracts a lot of the top tier students that are going on to the other schools. But how do you engage everybody? We've got 2,000 kids at the high school. We need to make sure that we have a pathway and a program for just about each one of them to make sure that they're getting what they need and what they want and what our community wants in the high school. And then we've got to really market the heck out of those programs. So people need to know what the high school has to offer. We've got to improve that perception a little bit, and we got to make sure that people know that New Bedford High School is really strong, and they're coming back. So there were some issues there years ago, but we've addressed them now. We've got a strong.
You've got some great educators. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely, it's the strength of the district.
One of my good. My wife's friend works with her.
Yep.
And then I became friends with Craig DeMello.
Yeah.
Who's better than Craig right now?
Craig was my teacher.
No kidding.
So,
is that where you got your rapping skills from?
One of his, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not quite as good, but I'm close. One of his first forays into teaching was as a long-term substitute in my 6th grade class, and then when I got to New Bedford High School, he was a sophomore English teacher, and I ended up in his class again. And I was like, "Oh, this guy's great."
Kid loves it, and he's good at what he does.
He's outstanding.
He engages children the right way. And he has a passion for the classroom.
Yeah.
We had my co-host back in the day with Saya, who he used to, out of the goodness of his heart, take time and help him out with his questions each week.
Yeah.
The guy just is above and beyond for it.
He's an incredible guy, and
he's one of many.
And he's brilliant, right? I mean, this guy could be doing anything.
Yeah.
And he's in a classroom, and he's applying that knowledge to students. So I'm proud to call that guy a friend of mine.
Yeah, he's great.
And I've learned a lot from him in my life. So I'm probably making him feel old by saying that, which is good.
Nah, he's my age. Don't say that.
But yeah, and you're right. He's one of a number of people in the district that
someday
go
you'll share our hairline.
Yeah, I saw a thing, one of those kind of like meme things. But if you want to see people working for free, drive by any school parking lot at like 7 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and you see it full of the teachers' cars, right? And then go into the building and into their classrooms, and you look at a space that is totally designed, bought, and paid for by them out of their own money.
My wife spends a lot of money every August, man.
Exactly. That's why she's got you working late nights like this.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, quickly, anything else as far as school committee part? Because I want to give you a couple minutes to talk about the PACE part.
I'll just throw in, we're going through the budget process now, so like
I want to touch upon that too.
The next month or so is pretty intense, and I always ask that people come out and get involved in that process. So
do it, parents.
It's easy to sit on the sidelines and say, there's waste in that budget, or there's this and that in there, or you're not doing this. But to go through these meetings that we have, these workshops, where you see us kind of just like cutting into the bone, So we need 6 new English language learner teachers for our growing population of students that come into the district not speaking English. Well, we can afford, maybe 4 of them. So how do you make ends meet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you connect all these gaps?
So you have these workshops where parents and people in the district can go and attend and
Yeah,
maybe
so
have a little input.
At the end of the process, there's a public hearing, and people can sign up to speak. They could come out and they could say, we want this, that, the other thing. We noticed in this presentation you had this in the budget. You cut this out of the budget. You should really put that thing back in the budget and get rid of that thing. That's what matters. And a lot of that is administratively driven, and the school committee hears it. And we have feedback, and we kick things around and move things and adjust things. And really the whole process is trying to whittle down this massive budget of requests by principals and teachers and everything.
And try to fit it all in.
Into what we can actually afford, which is kind of like,
Don't
you and
wish
me
had
and
that
Josh
credit-
running through the door at the same time.
Yeah.
One of us makes it, but the other 2 aren't gonna.
You wish you had that credit limit where.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could borrow money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quickly on the budget, because Josh is going to kill me, but security. This last budget, pretty much, from what John told me, there was really nothing added for security. Is that the case, or are we really after Parkland just going to leave things how they are? Are there plans to shore up the safety of our children in these
Yeah,
schools?
yeah,
And
so-
loved ones, my wife.
Yeah.
We're gonna protect
no,
her.
we've heard some plans on specific security, mainly physical plant type things that we can do.
Yeah.
To make schools more secure.
Are we asking for more money from the state to do this, or is there any?
No, it'll be built into the local budget. It's actually my opinion. So capital expenditures in schools, like things to the buildings themselves, beyond just routine maintenance type items,
Yeah.
are typically a city expense. So there's the school budget and there's a city budget. To Joe taxpayer, it's all the same. But as a school committee member, it's my job to kind of shepherd and protect our resources, right?
Yeah, and say,
so
you gotta
I
pay
say
for
it's
this.
capital, right? It should
Yeah.
be a city expense. But I don't think we're going to argue about that. We're just going to do the things that we need to do to ensure that our schools are safe. They're safe already, but there's after Parkland, after sort of the best practices come out about what districts can do and how they can set up the way that their schools work and how they let people in and how the doors work and all that other
Administrative stuff.
minutia stuff. Yeah.
But there's not like
we can improve that.
let's put a security guard at each school. Let's put anything that
Yeah,
you
I don't-
you hear the calls. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Social media is the biggest expert hotline where you can
Yeah, of
figure
course.
out where all that what
Yeah.
the experts want.
I don't think we're going to add staff beyond what we've got now. I mean, we've got school resource officers, we've got school security officers in some places. We're probably going to continue that, but things to make the physical structures better, to sink money into doing those things, absolutely. It ends up being like not the most expensive thing in the world to do, and it just makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of naturally hesitant. Parkland is a tragedy. It's just, it's beyond words how terrible that is. But there is a tendency usually after those things to overreact and start
Knee-jerk.
start going crazy.
Yeah.
And, we're gonna cut the books so we could put up the metal gate. And
So no metal detectors at the high school. None of that stuff.
I don't think the metal detectors are coming.
Okay.
They've done that in some places, and I understand it. There's some problems with that and how people filter into the school and it takes longer and stuff. I don't know where I come down on that if that were suggested to us. There's wanding, there's other stuff. One of the things that's really scary about the whole process, it's frightening, not just as a school committee member, but as a community member, as just a person that was in school, is it seems like because of the extremes of these situations, that no matter what preventive measures you put in place, there's a way to get around it if there's somebody that's in a mental state that they're going to do something like that. So it's horrible to think.
Remember that statement next time we sit down. I talk to you about gun control.
All right, I'll have to play it back after so I know what I'm walking into. But it's frightening to think, and I think we compensate for it by trying to find things that we can do. Right, we have to do something.
I agree with you.
But you have to be kind of wise about how you do that, because if you're doing something just to do something and it's not actually going to help you,
is it effective?
You're wasting.
You're wasting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we have to be careful about that.
We agree right there.
Yeah.
Your day job is a very important one.
Thanks for saying it. Yeah.
You touched upon it the other day, but I want to give you a couple minutes to describe what Josh Amaral does for the community through PACE.
I appreciate it. It's not so much what I do through PACE, it's just what the organization does. I mean, it's an incredible place. People on New Bedford Guide probably saw, we did a spotlight video the other day talking about the fuel assistance program that we have, which I'm the assistant director of that program. And we've got a really hardworking staff that does great work. So we serve about 10,000 households in the greater New Bedford area. So Marion, Mattapoisett, Rochester, Acushnet, Fairhaven, New Bedford, and Dartmouth are all covered by PACE for the purposes of fuel assistance. That's 10,000 households. If you took it out by people, it's like 30,000 people or something like that. What it is, it's a financial benefit to folks. The money goes straight to the vendors. So if you have oil, heat in your house, the money goes to the oil company. They come to your house, they give you the oil. If you have EverSource for your gas or electric heat, we pay EverSource. The bills come to us, we pay them.
Now you have to qualify?
Yeah, so there's an income verification process. Josh did a good job putting the guidelines right on that video. So if people can go check it out, it's probably in the recent video
to it.
Yeah, that's helpful
At the bottom of this.
But they're fairly forgiving, but we have a sliding scale. So a household of one making less than $35,000 is eligible. And now $35,000 in New Bedford, you're doing pretty okay,
well.
right? But you're also eligible for the least amount of money, so it's like a few $100. Now, if you have $12,000 in income and there's 3 people living in your house and you've got oil heat, which tends to be more expensive, you might be eligible for $1,500, right? Which still doesn't get you through the whole winter, unfortunately, but it's a big help. And the reason we're trying to promote this and push this as much as possible is the season ends at the end of April. So at the end of April, we don't really take applications anymore. Sometimes the state extends it like a week or two into May. We don't know if that's going to happen yet.
So you want to make sure
trying to get
people are jumping on it.
Yeah, and we pay bills from the winter months, so from November of 2017 to the end of April.
That's what I was going to ask.
It's retroactive.
They can retroactively get help from you guys.
Most people don't realize that. So people tell me like, "Hey, I saw your video on New Bedford Guide, but it's April. My bills are paid already." And
you'll take care of it though.
Yeah. So as soon as you're eligible, we can send that money to the vendor. That vendor can credit you for money you
and
paid.
then it'll help out in the future.
Or if you've got an outstanding balance in your electric bill or something, there's a way to transfer money between those things.
So how do they get in touch with if I'm watching this right now?
Yeah.
How do I get in touch with you? Besides the fact that Josh is going to link this at the end of the video.
Yeah. So I would give us a call at 508-999-9920. That's PACE's number, or paceinfo.org is the website.
Perfect.
A ton of information, resources on there. There's worksheets like, do I qualify? What do I bring to apply?
Pretty much self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's we're happy to help people if they call us and they make an appointment and they do all that. But if you're tech savvy, if you're watching this video, chances are you are. Just go on the website and plug away at that stuff.
Awesome.
So we do good work there. In addition to that, I do some of the planning stuff, which is a lot more boring. I say this often, but like the direct line staff, our intake workers and fuel assistants, our receptionists, they've got the hard work, right? It's the people in offices writing reports and stuff. I worked on our annual report today.
You're just doing the charts and the bars and all that.
Yeah, that's easier, right? But to have people sitting before you, it's like Peter. I mean, I have tremendous respect for what he's doing. He's going out there in the community, he's interacting with people.
Dude literally just walks around and helps.
Yeah, he's in situations that are probably not always very comfortable,
Yeah.
but he's extending himself and putting himself out there because that's the work that needs to be done. So that's the work we do at PACE. So in addition to fuel assistance, we've also got a housing program that helps people experiencing homelessness, evictions, foreclosures, things like that. We've got a Head Start program, which is early childhood. We run a child care voucher program.
No kidding.
So that covers like 42 cities and towns. It's huge. It's over $50 million a year in child care vouchers.
I gotta see if I call
massive program. Yeah, we'll get you some info.
My child care bill's out of control between preschool and daycare.
I can only imagine.
Oh my God,
yeah.
it's like another mortgage.
Well, it's a barrier for a lot of people getting jobs, so they can't get out there and enter the workforce because there's what's called the cliff effect, right? Which is
we have to do that. My wife and I had that conversation.
Yeah.
Is it good for one of us to stay home? Is it not?
Exactly. Yeah. At what point, am I working just so I can turn the money over to
absolutely
a child care provider? So
I got the big guy on the on the dials ready to kick my butt. 20 minutes over. Anything to promote? Anything coming up?
I'll
just say paceinfo.org for that stuff. For the school department stuff, you can go on my Facebook. I've got a page you can like, Josh Amaral. I got to do a better job of posting stuff there regularly, but if there's anything I need or I'm trying to call attention to, I share it out on that page. So that's kind of a clearinghouse for me.
You're kind of like Ian on Facebook. You're available and accessible, and you respond.
I don't tell the people that.
You're supposed to be.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course. That's
a
big part of
better than Ian. That's what you're supposed to say.
It's a big part of the job. To be tagged and stuff, to get videos and messages and things of that nature. I pride myself on it, and you try to help people work through their issues. A lot of the stuff that I'm able to help with is usually as simple as just connecting a parent or a person that's having an issue with, the school principal or someone like that, and telling them, hey, go talk to this person, and if you don't get a great answer, just follow up with me tomorrow. And usually things work themselves out. So I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing. It's an honor to serve the community. It's exactly what I want to do.
On Monday, April 2nd, Carlos Pacheco Elementary School had a special guest. That special guest was my bulldog.
Oh, I saw the video.
That's my dog. So if you ever need him, he's available. Like I said, daycare is expensive. So if there's any money you guys need, you can rent my bulldog. He's fully trained. He's actually a certified service dog.
Cool.
So if you ever need Ozzy the bulldog.
All right. I don't know if I could afford it, but
nah, he's cheap, man. He's cheap. Trust me.
I appreciate the offer.
I am too. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your viewership. Josh Amaral, thank you so much. Peter Costa, New Bedford Homeless Advocates, Inc. Please join his group. Donate a box of socks. Donate some jeans, shirts. You got a guy that's running around helping these homeless people. It's an important job that kind of gets overlooked. I didn't know about it. I learned a lot in the past 24 hours with Peter, and I'm going to stay involved with him. Any questions? Any concerns? Chris@newbedfordguide.com. I'll try to get you out to the proper people if it's not listed. Achiever of the Month, we're taking suggestions, nominations, I should say. Either reach out to me or Manny DeBrito, and our next Achiever of the Month will be coming out next week. We're also looking for responses. You want to shower these kids with gifts for being good citizens and being just lights in our community. These are the guys that are going to save us from ourselves. I tell everybody we got to keep investing in our youth, and programs like Achiever of the Month is something that's going to work towards that. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. One of our guests next week, Steve Martins. A lot of guys who kind of just disappeared and want to know why and want to talk to him and see what he's up to these days. Former Councilor Steve Martins next Thursday. Also, I'm doing an interview with Jeff Deal Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. live. Jeff's running for Elizabeth Warren's seat. He's trying to get up against her. Tune in and learn about your candidates. Voting this year is going to be extremely important. November 2018 midterms. And Jeff will be on that ballot probably, so you might want to learn about him. Thank you, everybody. See you Tuesday. God bless. Have a great weekend.